For 26 years her father made her feel like she wasn't enough. On her wedding day, he warned her not to shame the family. What happened next would leave him speechless and the whole room in tears. The morning of her wedding, while her mother fussed over the final pin in her veil, her father pulled her into the hallway and shut the door behind them. His voice was low, tight, almost trembling, not with joy, but with shame. "Just don't embarrass us today," he said, eyes avoiding hers. "These people, they're not like us. Don't talk too much. Don't bring up where we come from. Let them think what they want to think." She nodded quietly, the way she always did. 26 years of swallowing words, of shrinking herself so he could feel comfortable. He smoothed his jacket, satisfied, and walked away, never once asking if she was happy, never once asking who she was really marrying. But what her father didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was about to change everything. Years before that hallway, she was the daughter nobody bragged about. While her cousins were paraded around at family gatherings, their report cards, their job titles, their new cars, all on display, she sat quietly in the corner, the one her father introduced last. "If at all. She's still figuring things out," he'd say, with a tight smile, as if her silence were an apology owed to the room. What he never saw was the woman working 2 jobs through college, saving every spare dollar, building something from nothing quietly, without applause, without asking anyone for a single favor. She didn't need to be seen. She'd learned long ago that being seen by her father came with conditions she could never meet. Then there was him, the man she'd fallen in love with, unassuming, soft-spoken. He wore the same worn jacket to their first 3 dates, drove a car with a cracked windshield, and never once mentioned his family. She had one secret she'd kept from her own family for years, and today, it would walk through that door. The ceremony hall filled slowly, and her father stood near the entrance, fidgeting with his tie, scanning the modest rows of folding chairs with a kind of nervous apology in his eyes. To a neighbor, he leaned in and whispered, "We kept it small, you know. I didn't want to seem like we were overdoing it." He laughed nervously. The neighbor laughed too, though neither of them quite knew why. Then a man in a dark suit approached him, calm and professional, speaking into a small earpiece. "Sir, where would you like us to position the security detail? And the family's representatives, should they be seated up front, or do you have a designated area?" Her father blinked. "Security? Representatives? I'm sorry. Who exactly are you with?" The man gave a polite, almost confused smile, as if the answer should have been obvious, and walked off to confer with 2 other men near the entrance, both wearing the same discreet earpieces. Around the room, something shifted. A few guests on the groom's side were already pulling out their phones, angling them carefully, whispering to one another. One older woman gasped softly and grabbed her husband's arm. "Did you see the name on the invitation? Is that no? It can't be." Her father turned, frowning, trying to follow the murmurs rippling through the crowd like a current finding its shape. Something was happening. Something he didn't understand. He scanned the doorway, searching for an explanation, for someone to ask. And then the father turned around and saw exactly who had just walked in. Turning point. The doors opened, and the room rose to its feet, not out of politeness but instinct. A man and woman entered, dressed simply but unmistakably, flanked by quiet, watchful aides. Her father recognized the name, whispered around him a heartbeat too late. It was the family behind half the buildings in the city. The foundation that funded the hospital where his own mother had been treated for free. People he had only ever seen in newspapers, on plaques, in passing conversation, as symbols of something untouchable. And they were walking toward his daughter, smiling, embracing her like family. His knees nearly gave out. For years he'd assumed his daughter's quiet, mysterious boyfriend was just another struggling nobody, beneath their attention, beneath conversation. He'd never asked his name twice, never bothered, and in all that time, she had never once used this, never dropped a hint, never asked her father for a larger guest list, a nicer venue, a single favor that might have eased the embarrassment he so feared. She found him standing frozen near the entrance, and gently took his hand, leading him away from the crowd. Her voice was soft, without anger. "Dad, I didn't tell you because I never needed this to feel like I was enough. I built my life on my own, with or without your approval. But just once I wanted you to be proud of me, not of where I ended up, of who I've always been." Her father's eyes filled, his composure cracking for the first time in decades. He opened his mouth, but no words came, only the weight of years. He suddenly understood differently. But the real moment, the one that brought the entire room to tears, was still to come when she rose to speak. The room fell silent. She didn't mention the family she was marrying into, or the wealth that now surrounded her. Instead, she spoke of years working quietly, of a mother's sacrifices, of believing in herself before anyone else did. The groom's mother, moved to tears, stood and embraced her warmly, telling the room that this was exactly the kind of character their family had been searching for, not status, not connections, but heart. By that evening, guests were calling it the most moving speech they'd ever witnessed. Within days, the story spread through their community, not as gossip about money, but as a lesson about humility, dignity, and love that asks for nothing. Her father watched from the back, finally understanding what he'd missed all along. Sometimes, the people who doubt us the most are the ones who need us to prove them wrong the least and to forgive them the most.